I'm a contracts attorney. So I'm gonna ask, who here has been dealing with contracts? So who here deals with contracts? Okay, so that was a trick question. If you're in business, you should be dealing with contracts. The oral thing, oh, that's just me and you, that doesn't hold up anywhere. And so if you're in business and you're dealing with people, everything you do with them needs to be in writing. Even if you get a little pin pad and say, I'm gonna pay you $10, you're going to give me this is when we're going to do it, it needs to be in writing and signed by both parties, okay? So who's had a contract that didn't go the way they thought it should? So sorry to hear that. And who's been in litigation before? Uh-oh, you've got a lot of issues. Who's been sued based on a contract? Has anybody sued anybody because of contract? So the purpose of all of this is to kind of help you, guide you through contracts. Contracts is, if you're in business, it's your life. It's what determines your rights, your responsibilities. And so I'm gonna give you some tidbits about what your contract should look like, what it should have, what it shouldn't have, and how you can help in getting your business done. So this is my information, and it's also on your card. You can skip to the next slide. So what is a contract? And if you look up here, it says it's a legally binding agreement. So that's the most important thing. It's an agreement. What does that mean? If you don't agree to what you've been given, don't sign it. Because no amount of tears is gonna get you out of it when you get to court. If I don't agree, I'm not signing this. But once you sign, it says, I agree. So you need to make sure you're in agreement with whatever you're given, or you can't sign. It says it establishes the rights, the responsibilities, and obligations. One of the main things I see that's happening with small businesses is we talk to somebody about, hey, I want to do X, Y, Z. And so you say, I want to buy 10 widgets, it's going to cost this amount of money, I'm going to pay you in 30 days, and this is how it's going to go. And then you're handed a contract. And then you do what your mother told you never to do, trust people that you don't know. And you believe that everything you've spoken is in this document, so you sign it. I just had to do this last week with my client who sat down and talked about, hey, I want to do X, Y, Z in a contract. And then she was given a contract, and nothing they talked about was in the document. It's important to make sure that your rights and responsibilities are in it. Common uses for documents: business deals, employment agreements. You've got employees, you've got 1099s, they need an agreement. Why? So both parties, it's really to protect both sides. They're thinking, I'm getting paid $10 an hour. You're thinking, I told him I was gonna give him 8. You're gonna say you told him 8, he's gonna say you told him 10. The document would say exactly what it is, so there's no confusion. So you write it down. Did I lose my,
Let me know what you want to change.
The elements of a contract, thank you. An offer, which means somebody says, I'm going to do something for the other side. An acceptance, someone says, okay, I'll do that. Consideration, you give money, usually it's money. It's money, it can be value, legal capacity. Both parties have the capacity to enter this agreement. If you're dealing, your business deals with minors, make sure you have something in place that says their parent or somebody who's legally, can tie them to the contract is signing this. If not, you make that minor sign,
It's a waste of time.
they're not gonna get anywhere because they didn't have the capacity to sign that. And the contract's purpose must be legal, so you can't have a contract to sell drugs.
Go grab that phone stand.
It has to be something that is legal. Next slide, please. Contract formation. So the first thing you do when you want to get in a contract is you negotiate. Hey, I want 10 widgets and I want it for 50 cents. They said, no, we're gonna do it for 75 cents. You're like, no, maybe 55. You negotiate. I find that a lot of times in our communities, we don't negotiate. We're given a price and we're like, okay. They're like, no, mark it. You need to negotiate. So that's the first part of the negotiation. Once the negotiation has taken place, now it's time to draft the agreement. Drafting is key. And usually, the party that drafts is the one that determines how it goes. So I always say, when someone gives you a contract, bing, 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 something should say in your head, this contract benefits them more than it benefits me because they have drafted it. They have drafted it to their advantage. So you always want to be the drafter because you want to make that determination. But the minute you're given something, it means someone else has put their interest ahead of yours. So that should make you insist that someone needs to read this, or I need to read this, or I need to look at this twice because it's not mine, it's someone else. The review, which is the review. A lot of people are signing documents and they're not reading it. They're not reviewing it. I mean, I had a client come to me and he gave me his contract and I just had to text him. I was like, is this a contract or a love letter? He had given away everything. It was so bad. You've got to have it reviewed. Execution is basically you're signing the document. Without the signature, it's not valid. It almost like it didn't happen. And performance and enforcement. So, if you paid for something, you should get something in return. If you didn't get something in return, something in your document should say, if I'm not happy, I should get my money back. If I'm not happy, I should get something back. But there needs to be performance and there needs to be execution. Key terms, payment terms. If I'm selling you something, when am I getting paid? Don't leave it up to chance. Am I gonna get paid in 10 days, in 20 days? How is my payment gonna come? Credit card, cash, money order? Payment terms, termination conditions. I always say, even in a marriage, you can get out. If you have a contract that has no termination, you're stuck. That's crazy. So you need to have a termination condition. Confidentiality. If you have a business and it has a trademark or something that's important to you, you need to make sure the other person keeps that to themselves or keeps it confidential. Otherwise, your stuff is all out there. You don't want that. Dispute resolution. Most people don't think of this because usually you enter in a contract, it's with someone that you like. Okay, so what happens when things go bad? Do you stand in the corner and he stands in the corner? Do you stare each other down? No, you need to have a dispute resolution section that says, if we don't disagree, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to mediation, we're gonna go to litigation, we're gonna talk to each other. But there has to be a way to resolve disputes. And if you're in a contract, dispute sometimes happens. So you need to make sure that your document outlines what happens. I was currently in a litigation where the document didn't say what law applied. That client paid over $20,000 for me and the other lawyer to argue because somebody forgot to put that in the document. It's important. Force majeure is basically, if a hurricane happens, I can't do the stuff. That says either party, something has happened why we can't continue. And if that happens, then you should be responsible and neither should they. But it needs to be in there. Riots, earthquakes, fires, something, acts of God, they call it. When those things happen, you cannot perform because naturally so much is happening. You need to have that.
Lee, what if I wanted to ask a question about it?
I thought,
Or we wait till the end
I mean, if someone has a question,
for that particular point. I want to
Okay.
ask something that a lot of people here can connect with. Force majeure, how about death? Is death included in force majeure?
Usually
Death
no.
of one of the
Was
parties?
that part of termination?
Usually, no, that's not a force majeure. A force majeure usually, as I had said before, is an act of God. So it's something unforeseen that you have no control over. So it's usually earthquake, pandemic, fire, flood, strikes, those things. But you wouldn't consider death a force majeure.
Just write that down.
What about illness, like a major illness?
that also wouldn't be considered so after COVID, I started including pandemic and epidemic in my force majeure clauses. But before that, it's just usually, what they, like I said, the acts of God, thunder, lightning, strikes, things that you wouldn't predict, but not fire, not illness, no. Other question?
Yes. A joke that actually just became a good point, though, because do these crazy executive orders and sudden tariffs and crazy administrative takeovers is that unpredictable but done by man? Where does that fall under force majeure or not?
So I always say to parties,
Right?
you need to talk and negotiate
Man's kind of an act of
your
God, right? I
contract,
don't know.
and then you come to the lawyer, and it's easy for me to draft something the parties have agreed to.
Right.
So if you know you are buying and selling and your stuff is going to be coming from overseas and it's going to come through shipment and you see the administration, then you have to deal with that in your contract. It shouldn't be unforeseen because we see what's happening.
Well, I guess what I mean is, right, so for people who had, did business, signed their contracts before November 5th, 2024, right? So that, it's in thinking of that, before you had a reason to really 100% know.
So now both parties should know, and
Right.
you can go back and do an amendment.
There it
Hey,
is. Right.
we did this contract, but
Right.
now all these things are happening. We need to talk about how we're going to resolve this,
Got it.
and we can literally just slap what you call an amendment.
Got
So an
it.
amendment to your contract is basically say, we need to change some terms, or we need to do some things different
Right.
because something has changed.
Right.
You add it to your contract, and both parties sign, and then you'll be fine. You had a question?
Well, I was just gonna kind of expand on that because I think one of the ways, and this is very challenging, right, is they're just feeding terms into their algorithms to figure out, they have these buzzwords, right? And they are connected to hundreds of programs and funding and other things
Right.
all across the federal landscape. So I guess we know now, right, but how do you really know exactly to what extent? Because there is no guidepost to any way they're doing it.
So again, I would go back to an amendment. It's the two party. You're in a contract usually with two people. It's two people usually. It can have more than, but it's generally. But if everybody sees what's happening, you can always just do an amendment. Hey, we thought we were going to do this, but now we see what's happening and we need to do that.
What if one of the parties does not agree to the amendment?
You have to speak up a little bit louder.
What if one of the parties does not agree to the amendment though?
So that could be problematic. Because usually and we'll go through that, so usually your contract will say, all of these terms, everybody has agreed to, and if any modification, you want in writing. And you want that because you don't want the other party changing the terms and you didn't know. So usually amendments have to be done by both parties agreeing or in writing. So if the other party doesn't agree, then you're back to the dispute resolution. So now you're in a dispute. So either you're going to mediation, you're talking to each other, but even in a dispute resolution, you need to set timelines, right? So I usually say, the parties will talk together friendly for 10 days. If that doesn't work, we'll do mediation for 30 days. If that doesn't work, we'll do arbitration or we'll go to litigation. But we need to keep moving to a resolution. Otherwise, if you just have the parties will talk together, well, if I don't want to talk to you, then what we're going to do? Or if you go to mediation, if you don't set a timeline, you could be in mediation for 2 years.
That's true.
You need to set a timeline to make sure that it's moving towards a resolution. Breach of contract, basically, if it's one party didn't get what they thought they were gonna get. So now I feel like I got gypped. Material versus minor. So we would have what we call a material breach. So if you gave me, I'm a buyer and you're selling something, and you sold me your product. So you send your products to me in the mail, and I didn't feel like paying. If I did not pay, that would be a material contract, right? Because that's so big, you wouldn't have sent me your products if you thought I wasn't gonna pay. But what's minor? A minor breach could be, okay, so I told you I was gonna pay on the 10th. I came to you and I paid you on the 12th or the 15th. You're not gonna take me to court for 5 days. Remedies, damages, specific performance or rescission. So when you don't get what you want, these are some options. Damages, you can go and seek damages, which means I've spent $500 to get you that thing that you asked me for. You didn't pay. I want my $500 back. Plus, I want interest, or if I had to go to a lawyer, I want damages. I want to be made whole. That's what damages will cause you to do. Specific performance. You said you were going to give me something. Then you decided, I'm not gonna give it. I can actually go to court and force you to give me that specific thing. I want that thing because that's what we've decided. That's what specific performance is. Enforcing a contract, mediation and arbitration, we talked about that. Just remember the difference. A mediator just sits with the parties and makes you talk it out. They cannot force the parties to come to a resolution. An arbitrator can. An arbitrator is like the judge. Litigation, go to court. Either federal or state or whatever. An alternative dispute resolution. I always try to say to people, before you go to court, try to talk. Try to see if mediation works. And try some other resolution before you go to court.
In your experience, has arbitration been as neutral as is purported to be?
So I'm an arbitrator, and I've also been involved in arbitration, and sometimes it can be tough. But I've also sat next to a civil court judge, and that can also be tough, right? Because you never know what kind of judge you're gonna get. Does the judge understand my case? Do they understand the subject matter? So, I have been steering people to arbitration because as I sat next to the judge, usually from start to finish, a case will take 3 years.
Oh my God.
But you could go to arbitration, and depending on the size of your case, you can get it heard in 6 months, a year. So it's usually less time. The important thing about your contract is you should have that it says, if we have a dispute, the winning party gets legal fees. That's important. That means you're not gonna be afraid. You might have to put the money out, but if you're the prevailing party, that you're the party that wins, the other side has to pay you, not only what you asked for, but they also have to pay your legal fees. So those are things you want to have. Importance of contract, provides clarity, ensures legal protection, and professional relationship. I think we've gone through that. So next slide. Tips. So first of all, I'll say, if you haven't drafted a contract, that's not something you should be doing yourself. You should get someone who knows what to do. But it takes your given one, it needs to be clear. I've seen contracts that I was just like, oh my God, this is Greek, and this is what I do. And so you want it to be clear. Key terms. When am I getting paid? How can I terminate? What do I do when there's a dispute? Key terms, I want them to be laid out. If you've got to think about it, it's a problem. You don't want subjective terms in your contract. We will do this in a reasonable time. Well, a reasonable time to me is right now.
Yeah.
A reasonable time to you is 5 days.
Right.
So that leads up to interpretation. Things should be clear. Address potential risk. Hey, we're shipping stuff overseas. Now we know there may be tariffs. Let's not try to act like we don't know it's happening. We need to just address it in our contract. And seek legal advice. Oh my God, please don't sign documents unless you know A, what it says, B, you're comfortable with it. You should have a lawyer do that. There is no reason for you to get involved in something that you haven't done or you don't know. Because chances are, yes, you might have done it and it's okay. You don't want to be the wrong end of the stick. I always say to people, to have me draft and review your contract is one thing, but when you get in trouble, you're paying double. You're paying more than double. So it doesn't make sense financially. Do's and don'ts. If you're not in agreement, don't sign. We talked about that. Do not sign an agreement you have read. You cannot trust the other side that this is what it says. You need to read it for yourself. Make sure the terms you discuss are laid out. We talked about that. You and I talk about a contract, you hand me a contract. I just assume that everything you told me is in the, we don't do assumptions. We either are reading it or we're giving it to someone to read. When you don't understand, ask. There is no stupid question. But once you sign that document, you are liable and you are stuck. So if you don't understand something, ask. Negotiate and just don't take. I said that before. Hey, they've told you they'll give it to you for 50 cents. Ask if you could get it for 40. If they say no, 45. If they say no, 48. But at least you're paying less. Negotiate. You don't have to just take what they give you. Have an attorney review it. Don't wait till you get in trouble to have an lawyer. Because then now you're scrambling. I'm in trouble and I need to find somebody, and you might not make the right decision. You're in business. You should have an attorney that you say, hey, if I have issues, I need to call this person. Or sometimes my clients just call me and say, hey, you know what, somebody asked me about this, or I'm thinking about this. It's not only just about contracts or disputes. They run things by me. I'll be like, no, we're not doing that. Nah, I think that's a good idea. No, we're not doing that. Have somebody you can call. Understand the big picture. So, as an attorney, I charge an hour rate. I have a dog who thinks he's human. I don't have the strength to tell him he's not. But during the days, he needs to walk. So, I could take him out for a walk, which will be about 30 minutes. Or I can sit and work. If I sit and work, I get paid. If I take him out to walk, it will cost me $30. What I'm making is more than enough to pay the dog walker. There is no reason for me to be out there walking. I'm actually losing money by walking the dog. You're business owners. Your time is worth money. You need to make sure that whatever task you're doing, it's not costing you. You need to look at the big picture. If you need assistance and you're doing your own assistant things, you're doing your own this or you're doing your own that, how much time is that costing you? Should you get a VA and pay them $10 or $20 or $30 an hour and get that done? Because what it costs for you to shift and do something you're not familiar with is ultimately costing your business. So don't do that, and especially don't do that with contracts. Conclusion. Contracts are essential. They're key elements, and please, please, please don't sign things you don't understand, you haven't read, or you don't agree with. Are there any questions?
Ask
I won't-
questions, people.
I'm only gonna ask you this because I know the answer to it. But she got after me because I didn't ask this at another event we were at. How small a contract is too small to call a lawyer for?
Oh my God, there's never any, a contract that's too small. Because if you don't get the right advice, it could end up costing you.
Your business.
If, when you get in a dispute, the average lawyer is going to ask you for a retainer. That's usually $5K, average. And that's just to start. Then you've got to go through the whole process, and if you go to court, that's 2 years of paying your lawyer, 3 years of paying your lawyer. Oh my God, it wouldn't have cost you half of that to have it reviewed. It makes no financial sense not to do it up front and rather wait till you get into trouble, because it will cost you much more on the back end.
So on that note, let's say I were to get your retainer for $5,000, and I send you a contract. How much of that retainer would it have taken up, for example? Like, what's the cost up front of you reviewing the contract versus we know the cost on the back end if we got to hire you?
So for small businesses, I do different pricing.
Okay.
Most small businesses don't want to give a $5,000 retainer. They're a small business. So I do various contract prices. I do 3-hour prices, I do 5-hour prices, and then I do 11-hour prices, so that it's easier for people.
So you say like most contracts would be covered in like that 3 hours?
So most contracts, reviewing, it depends. So yes, you could get a contract review if it's, a certain amount of pages. If your document is intense,
Right.
the average person is probably at 5 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much is that?
Huh?
What's the budget?
Oh, so
Trying to put you
my
guys in
hourly
your
rate
answers.
is 500.
Thank you.
What I do a 3-hour package, I do
That means-
$14.99. If you do a 5-hour package, it's $24.99. And I give a discount when I do a 10-hour package to give people 11 hours, and that's 5 hours, and that's 5,000.
Thank you.
Wait, let me jump.
Very simple. Your presentation is lucid, it's crisp. But how does the advent of AI and its resources, has it been impactful?
So we're struggling with that as lawyers.
Sorry, can you
Me
repeat the question real
personally,
quick?
The AI, so generally people want to know, as a lawyer, am I using AI? And if I am using AI, then it shouldn't take me 3 hours to do a document, it should take me an hour.
That's cute.
And so it will cost them less.
I know, right?
So,
That's
for
right.
me,
No.
when you hire me, you've hired me. You didn't hire a computer.
Thank you. Please say it one more time for the people in the back.
So when you hired me, you didn't hire a computer. So I personally don't use AI because I don't think it's right. It's like if I did, I would have to come and tell you, hey, I'm using AI. I just don't, my conscience can't let me do that. But I do use it for different things, not for that, because I don't think it's fair. So every lawyer, especially a contract lawyer, we start with templates. So I have a template, and I'll say to this to you, when you pull templates off the internet, they're templates, they're starting point, they're never the end game. Don't use those, you have to modify them. The template doesn't know you, it doesn't know the agreement you've had, it doesn't know your business, you have to add things to it. So I start with a template, and then I pull from different places based on my experience. This person's gonna need this is gonna need that, this is gonna need that. To create a document that is specifically geared towards you, your business, and protecting your interests.
When you're looking for,
Can you speak up a little bit?
sorry, when you're looking for a lawyer, do you need to be more specific about the field that you're in? I'm in the medical field, so should I look for somebody that's more into
Ooh.
medical contracts?
That's a good question.
So I think for me, it depends. A contract is a contract, so a contract lawyer is a contract lawyer. But if you're looking for specific, if you're dealing with HIPAA and stuff like that, even I have no issue bringing in other attorneys. When I have clients who have special needs, oh no, I am not insecure at all. I go out and get an expert. You need the best advice, and I'm gonna make sure that you get it. So I will get a consultation with a healthcare lawyer and say, hey, I saw this, I don't understand this, I need you to help my client to understand, because at the end of the day, you're gonna come back to me, and I'm not looking for that. So I'm gonna make sure that you get what you need.
Do you mediate other stuff other than contracts?
Say that again?
Do you mediate other stuff other than contracts?
What do you mean?
Family law?
Oh, I try to stay away from that.
Any other
But I do
questions?
know people who would. I saw your hand, did you have a hand up?
Just a curiosity, are the napkin contracts actually a thing? Like how, like what's the minimum for a contract to be called a contract?
It's what the parties agree. So
So even if it's on the back of a napkin
Then-
or
then
it's on the
something.
back of a napkin, you say, I'm gonna buy $10, I'm gonna buy 100 wickets, it's gonna cost me $10, I'm gonna pay at the end of the month, I'm paying by cash. If we don't agree, we do this. The law of the state, it's important. What law applies? If you don't state what law applies, then that's a whole nother issue that we're fighting over. That, and how do you get out of, once I sell you this, we're done. Termination. So if you have the key points of your contract, it could be what the parties agree.
That's a big napkin.
When
Make
I
sure
start my
both
business, I
sides
wanna
sign.
frame it, the napkin.
I just want to say to add to the do's and don'ts, if you see a lot of folks do this, they sign contracts because they're desperate. Like they're in need of money and they rush out and sign something because that money sounds good and the big part sound good, but then the little parts they don't look at.
That's because they're not having the right person look at it. So we're in the DMV area, and so there's a lot of government contracting. And with a lot of government contracting, people need to coordinate. So you have contracts that are designed for you, which we'll see how that goes. But people then have to come and join you in order to get those contracts. And I find that a lot of us are so anxious in those partnerships, but you need to look at those partnership agreements to make sure that they benefit you. Otherwise, you shouldn't be involved in that. I think my time is up.
So, real quick, everybody take a picture of this. You got 5 seconds. 5, 4. That's my agreement with you. 3, and you're not taking me to arbitration. 2, and you're not hiring her for me. 1. Take a picture of that. Send her a text message now with your name, phone number, selfie, whatever you gotta do. Don't be scared of her rates. Believe you me, her rates are not expensive. Believe you
They're pretty
me,
average.
they're not expensive.
Right in the middle.
When you get in trouble, you'll realize that. Because for $3,000, there's no trouble you'll get into in America for less than $3,000. So pay your $3,000 and be scot-free. Now, we're gonna go to our next presenter, but please give Tom a round of applause. A round of applause. As Bill would like to emphasize that impact. Now, we have a grant situation, and while this is being set up, while this grant situation is being set up, I wanted to just throw one more thing as we segue into this, because I did mention the importance of being compliant, the importance of being structured and organized, and the importance of being profitable. The most dangerous thing that happens to immigrants business owners is when they start their restaurant, open up their hair salon, start selling their product, and it becomes successful from the get-go. So because they're now making sales, they're smart. All of you are smart now. You sold 1,000 lotions this month. You go on Instagram, how it went from $0 to $30,000 in sales every month. And then we keep going. Make another $30,000 that month. How I went from 0 to $100,000 in sales in 2 months. And you keep going. Now you're successful. You are now a success. And you forget everything about compliance, legal. And one day, after you've made $5 million, bought your nice house and your 3 Lamborghini vehicles, all cash, all cash. And what's left in the bank now is $100,000. You get hit with a trademark infringement lawsuit. And then you now start getting letters from 25 people around the country that they have skin cancer from your lotion, which you were making in Thailand with an illegal certificate and license. And you're just 25 years old.
It sounds bizarre.
Then you go to Ms. Donda, and she tells you, you're telling them $2,500? Listen, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not charging $2,500. That's per minute. Especially after I see all your YouTube videos of how you became a millionaire. Oh, no, no, no. What's my lesson here? Be organized in the beginning. Right now, everybody here is already too late. Go call her. Go tell her everything about what you're doing and where you are right now. Let her give you some advice. Because the advice she gives you, whether she bills you per hour or not, that's what it is. That's her time. She could walk her dog. She could walk her dog and not pick up your phone. That's because her dog is charging her too. He does. He might not say rough if she doesn't walk him well. So please, organize yourselves now. Get a lawyer that's your friend. Get a CPA that's your friend. Get an executive coach that's your friend. In the world today too, get a tech person that's your friend so you understand what's going on. So while you're AI-ing and ChatGPT in your contract, and that ChatGPT is putting together the templates with the wrong name and last name and address, you see what's going on. So as we segue now into this grant opportunity, anyone that's interested in a grant, please take notes. This is a very important grant that is due very soon. If you feel you have a nonprofit that can provide these, it's important to take this information. Fatia works with the Office of U.S. Rep Oye. And the people that are presenting this grant are not available today. So please make sure you take that information and make sure you apply if you feel you're eligible. Because we need to share these opportunities with you. If you don't win, we don't win. Everybody understand that? Round of applause for Donda, her dog. gonna have a little bit of technical difficulty.
Hey y'all, my name is Beitia. I work with Rep. Onye, and again, I'm not affiliated with them. Unfortunately, they can't be here today. But this is the Holy Trinity Catholic Church grant. Let's see that. There we go. Okay. So first of all, who are these people? The Holy Trinity Title Grant Program seeks to address root causes of social justice issues both locally and global within the global community. They address issues such as global issues and encampments, and I'm going to talk about more of those later. So this concrete and ongoing commitment to social justice is a priority amongst this church, and they have two different type of grants today: the small one and the big one. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Am I blocking anybody's view? They have a small and a big grant this year. So the first one is the small grant focus, which focus on a variety of various social issues. The Holy Trinity, according to their website, says they welcome projects that contribute and demonstrate a big just word that uphold dignity, enhance equality, and facilitating access to social and economic opportunity for people in poverty. So this year, they're focused on issues that address things just as food insecurity, homelessness, or unhoused populations, mental health services, and youth community programs, in addition to community building, services for elderly, people with disability, and mental health. So if any of your organization fall under this category, please make sure to apply. Application deadline is March 25th, and then you get notification June 30th. How do you apply? So they want the application to not exceed more than 5 pages, so it's a very succinct application. They wanted to include an executive summary of what it is your organization is about and how does this tailor specifically to this organization. They want a statement of need, basically how much you need, where is the money gonna go to, and basically a timeline, like where do you see this money being projected. Amount requested, very simple. And a time frame of the grants, they wanna make sure like this is a long project, essentially, and whatever amount that you're gonna be asking for, your timeline like matches up with that. In addition to the name of contact person and contact information. So for the large grants, it's focused this year on unaccompanied migrant minor. The 2025 large grants focus on the priority theme of unaccompanied migrant minor in District of Columbia and surrounding areas, meaning Maryland and Virginia. According to their website, unaccompanied child, also known as UAC, are children under the ages of 18 who lack both lawful immigration status in the United States, or a parent or a legal guardian in the United States, or a parent or legal guardian in the United States who's available to provide care and physical custody. The DC area continues to see a dramatic increase in the number of unaccompanied child and families with children immigrating here. So many of those children have experienced things such as trauma, victimization, whether it's from violence from their home country or just within this family. This large grant seeks to provide support to the Holy Trinity Catholic Church 2025 request for proposal organization that offers services like legal services, social services. So if any of your organization falls under working towards kids or family who immigrated to the United States and they face things like violence in their home community, apply to this grant. This one is more extensive. So the first time that this is due is February 21st, which is in a couple of days. They want you to submit a letter of inquiry. On March 21st, they want a full proposal done. March 4th, the deadline. April 4th, the deadline, and June 30th, just as the last one, awardees and announcement goes out. Okay. This grant is a little bit more extensive in what they want for the application process, but also it's a max of 3 pages for the letter of inquiry. So this is the first thing you submit, and within that they need the contact information first of all. They want to know who do we contact if you were to get a yes or a no. They also want a statement of need, which is basically saying what issues are related to this people that your project seeks to address, and how would you approach addressing this issue. They also want the methodology, which basically means like how do you plan on doing this? Like like one to staff, like this is what I'm gonna do with the money, this is what the students or the kids or the family are gonna get out of this. They also want the expected outcome, predict after getting this grant, what is the outcome? Like, what are the children gonna be healed from this trauma? Are they gonna be going ongoing therapy? They want competence and credentials to show that you're not gonna be scamming them and you actually know what's going on in this issue. This comes with extensive research, data that you've collected about this issue. Project length, how long is this gonna take them, and how long is the money gonna stretch over? Financial need, money. They're gonna pick people based on this following criteria. What is the quality of the proposed project? Is this feasible or not? Like, there's something called like making a smart proposal, making sure it's feasible, it's specific, it's timeable, it's lengthy. Credentials, do you have the right people on your team to make sure this project actually goes out? And the last thing is like, how does this relate to the mission of the church? Make sure if you do apply to this grant, make sure you go back and see what their mission statement is and put something of their mission statement in your application. If you have any question, please go to the website. They have more extensive things that you can see past proposals and kind of see how it's been formatted. And the first person up here is Miss Ashley Lick. When you finish all your proposal, this is who you send it to. So that's the application right there. I'm sorry, that's our email address right there. And if you need additional support, please contact the person down below. Miss Lauren, I'm gonna wait to take pictures. And don't miss out on this opportunity. Apply today. The first one is due February 21st. Yeah.
So let me hop in again and run my mouth a little bit. Please give Fatia a round of applause. Fatia is our young LeBron James on the team. The chosen one. So we call her in the team. US rep had to step out due to an emergency, so he won't be here. So you're going to see my ugly face for like the next 10 minutes. So let me tell you all something very important in closing. To summarize the day. Number one, you're all trying to build organizations. If you don't know and don't realize by now, the word organization comes from the word
Organize. Organize.
Donda, can I sue people for not listening? Can I sue? Is there some form of lawsuit when you tell people certain things and they got organization comes from what word?
Organize.
So everybody in here got to become
Organize.
There you go. Then of course we throw in the extra layers of compliance. If you're in catering, food, whatever industry you're in, hair, skincare, go do your research with experts about what licenses, certifications you need to acquire as an organization so that you do things legally and don't have to bother Donda's dog from getting his walks. Yeah, the dog is gonna stink. So you gotta get compliant. And if you're not profitable as a company and you're just making money like the skincare woman in the 25, 26 years old that did the 30,000 first month, 30,000 second month and was enjoying all over Instagram and then got hit with the trademark infringement, just so you know, that was a true story. Our company, Zen Capital, invests in startups. And that was one of the startups we invested in. We invested in this young startup. Whenever we invest in your startup, we assign a dedicated business development rep to your company who's supposed to be helping you to develop. But you know all these young Gen Z, she said everything can be done on Instagram. We were blown away, made sales on Instagram. But we kept asking, where are the licenses? Where are the certifications? Where's the manufacturing license? What is going on with the factory? We need their documentation. We need to fill out the trademarks. We need to get this done. That business development rep, of course, was terminated because he did not take note of the little details, which led this lady to be making so much sales. I mean, this woman was over $1 million over 1 million followers on Instagram. Between our Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, it was almost 1 million followers. She was making so much sales. But then she gets hit with a lawsuit. And now the 7 investors that I got involved are losing money and are spending money on the lawsuit instead of spending money on their returns. So what I'm trying to tell you is you can become successful and you can still mess it up. you can become very successful, and you can still mess it all up. So what I'm trying to tell everybody here is, second, because of what Ms. Dondra has taken her time, her $500 an hour. She stayed here and presented for 30 minutes. You all owe her $250.
I'll buy you a margarita.
And that's if she doesn't add damages. Because she's still sitting here. So there's more damages coming. You can contact Oye about that. Oye handles all that. Oye Fatia, I'm just an advisor. Salam. All right, I'm not legally tied to them. So without further ado, get your coaching from Ms. Pam. It's very important. If you're not getting coaching, get your coaching. I have students, we have an academy, we do coaching in my office. Because I believe that before you start anything, you have to be very clear on who you are and why you are before you start what you're trying to do. Because a lot of people are doing things that are successful financially, but they hate what they do. That is the worst thing ever. And then you find out, yo, that millionaire jumped from the 17th floor. Why? That happens. Because they were not happy. Because in the end, if you're not happy, you won't love what you do.
And
So
there
without
is
further
data
ado,
that will kill you.
please make sure you have
That
Donda's
will kill you.
information. Make sure you have Ms. Pam's information. Jessica shared her website link. Does anybody have any final Q&As? Question?
No, go ahead with the question. We out of time.
First of all, thank you guys, for all very informative. I got a question. I just wanted, this is for everybody, I just wanted to kind of get your insight on the current climate.
The current climate?
Under the Trump administration,
Okay, I was about to ask you.
you know, I'm a contractor here in DC.
Yes.
Got contracts, it makes up a big portion of my business. And my concern is like possibly the trickle down effect.
Okay.
You know, federal government agencies,
Okay.
affected, how that will subsequently affect, you know, state
Yes.
governments and ultimately like local contracts and
Yes.
that kind of thing, and local businesses. I just wanted to know if you guys had any insight on that.
I'll give you all some insight right now. How many of you right now are dealing with government contracts or government jobs? Show of hands. Good. You'll get impacted.
Yep.
But I'm here to give you some good news. Here's the good news. You're in America. That's the number one good news. You're in the United States of America. You're in the one country I'm 100% sure you will not lose. There's many ways your services can still be rendered. If there's anything you learned from COVID, can someone tell me one important lesson you learned from COVID? S happens.
If it can't happen,
S
it will happen.
means stuff happens. Stuff happens. Donald Trump is here for how many years?
4.
Well,
Maybe. It's 4.
I'm not gonna be political, but let's just say, worst case scenario, legally, because he's not saying
legally.
worst case scenario, or best case scenario.
Legally,
depending
he
on
should
what
be
part of the
president.
table you are, he's here for 4 years. 4 years means, if you were 100% reliant on only government contracts, because you clean floors and you're a janitorial company, what should you start doing now?
Run. I'm sorry.
Run?
Sorry.
What you start doing right now?
Sorry.
Is it
Diversify.
only government buildings that need cleaning?
Diversify.
Yeah.
Public sector.
Diversify your
What's the
revenue
private sector?
stream.
Do you understand? So whatever it is, everybody take my cell phone number down for future questions because we have to wrap up.
So really quick before we go, I just had a couple people I wanted to make sure we got the right email address.
Please, your
Yes.
emails.
So I'm Shanita, very nice to meet all of you.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna have to, now we're all cousins, I'm gonna have to call you out, sorry. So, all right, I'm looking for Mr. Andrew, I think this says Andrew. Cool, I'm gonna see you in a second. And then Eric, last name is, okay.
Please write down your emails in all caps, nice and slow, so that when we send your email, it doesn't bounce back. It impacts our marketing.
Mr. Brad,
Bradley?
gotcha, oh, I can find you.
I don't know his name.
Yeah, that's fine, never mind, never mind.
Wedding card.
Yeah, we ain't not gonna come. And then the very last one was George, last name start with a K.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
not
do you
George,
need to-
but I didn't put those.
Oh, you need to put yours, okay,
Yeah.
yes, please. And print, no problem. Did anybody not sign in? Okay.
So, okay,
So I'm
real
just
quick.
gonna- So I think we're good to
Your
go now,
number.
'cause I just
So I'm gonna give you all my number. Very easy. I'm gonna say this number twice. You're gonna text me your name and a selfie so I remember your face. All right? If you have any questions, you answer via text. Jessica's gonna come up here and do the exact same thing. You got it. She's gonna give you her cell phone number. You're gonna ask her any questions you have, send her a selfie with your full name, and then start conversations. Let us start the right conversations. My phone number is 571-420-6450. I'm gonna say it a second and third time. 571-420-6450. Last time. If you didn't get this, sue me. 571-420-6450. Text me your full name, take a picture of yourself, and then let's continue these conversations. I can ask, sorry? My name is Ike, I-K-E, lock it in, it's Ike, I-K-E. Any questions you have around government contracts, whatever your company is having as a problem, shifting between government and private, whatever it is, I'll be able to answer it for you or divert you to somebody. Just come give me your cell phone.
So,
Sorry?
Your company's name.
Text me, I'll text you the whole detail. You have the cops outside the door, I am not messing with
The
you.
police, I was gonna say, they want us out here, so we just gotta kind of wrap this thing
And it's
up.
DC police.
Yeah,
It's not
so I guess I'm Jessica Whittemore.
Take your time.
I'm JWM Concepts LLC. If you guys didn't already get my card, it's all right. I have a couple more, but my phone number is 202-560-0444. If you've got my card, the little QR code goes to what's called I call the AI profit system, which is a CRM. It's AI powered, goes by Go High Level. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. If you do, you know. I just wanted to make quickly say, since I've been recording everything for everybody, I'm gonna post up on the YouTube, and I will of course make a what? A notebook LM out of it for you guys. So if you send me an email, it does not replace, of course, our wonderful presenters, but it gives you an opportunity to come back and look at these notes and see in real time. And I'll probably make a video of me making the notebook so you guys can all see about that as well. So I wanted to leave you guys with that one AI tool for those who came in a little late. Everybody who has a Gmail account or has your business email run through Google Workspace has access to notebooklm.google.com. That's your free AI tool today. It works exceptionally well. You can upload your sources to it and ask questions to it about your sources. Does it replace an attorney? Of course not. But I'm going to put up this presentation attorney on there, so that way if you have questions that you don't want to pester her about or pay her $500 an hour for, all of these notes that are being taken right now are being uploaded. An example for you guys is easy way to use these tools for yourselves in your own businesses and to help you guys get a little started. So when we meet and help you get organized, help you get these contracts, we're already a little bit on the same page here. All right. So again, notebooklm is .google.com. That's how you guys can get a lot of good studying done on your own. My phone number, 202-560-0444. My name is Jessica Winter with a Y, W-Y-N-T-E-R Martin. I'm the only one in the world. There's a lot of Jessicas out there, but I'm the only Jessica. I'm the only Jessica Winter Martin you're going to find out there. So make sure you get my card before you go, and you can look me up in my company. And I'm glad to help you guys get integrated in AI and stay ahead of what's happening. Remember, whatever you think about AI today is what you were saying about internet in 1996. Think about that.
Everybody look up for a quick selfie. All right, smile and look at my phone. I know you can't see yourself, but I can see you. There we go. Now let's leave the room before DCMP. Fatia, hold for a second. Give her all your send that text, get it to the phone. That number doesn't go everywhere. Only my wife got that number. I start up work like this. I got Kevin's Kevin Failure.
Oh, you're asking now or? Oh, okay.
She holding on from here.
Really like think they're being cute, but hate